discussion this morning in the chat, which is disagreements and conflict resolution. That's our topic this morning. So once again, good grand rising, and everybody welcome. And we are going to crack on. So disagreements and conflict resolution. So what does that mean and where does it happen? And I'm sure we all know we've been in disagreements before, we've been in conflicts before at work or in school or somewhere else. And as members of this team, we are kind of leaders. We've got to manage situations. We've got to manage our teams. We've got to manage our clients. So in that sense, we are leaders. And many of, say, young or emerging leaders avoid or hide from disagreements because they don't know how to handle them. It can be challenging if you are a young person and maybe you have a big team of very experienced people, yet you are the leader. So the easy thing is to avoid the disagreement or hide or keep away. But then it's not the right thing, because if there's a disagreement, if there's a conflict, it has to be resolved to go on. So people don't know how to react sometimes when they disagree, and they don't know how to manage other people when they disagree. Say you have a team and members of your team are having a conflict, a conflict of some sort. Somehow you even don't know, how do I go about this now? How do I go start speaking to these people? Especially when you have set deadlines, you've got to get on with the work, and you see people disagreeing on something, maybe which is not part of the assignment you have in front of you. So what are some of the things which you can do to manage the disagreements? First of all is encourage open communication. Encourage open communication, because without communication, then you are not going to know, you are not going to understand the real reason as to why there is people don't get on. So you need to create that environment of team members to feel comfortable to express their views or their concerns. And that's very, very important in our teams, because if somebody feels maybe they're not being listened to, or they are not, their point of view is not being taken on board, then somehow they are going to keep to themselves. That's why to encourage open communication is very important. The second thing there is active listening. Ensure all parties listen to each other's perspectives without interruptions to fully understand the issues. Because if you leave one person to speak, you're going to only take one side. You're not going to understand the other person's perspective on that particular issue. So if you do listen carefully to one party and then the other party, then it can become easy for you to find a solution. Then thirdly, would be to try to identify the root cause, to determine the underlying issues behind the disagreement so that you can address them effectively. Because some people could be in a team arguing about something, maybe a cup of coffee, when actually the real point is something very different. It's an assignment you gave them, or they could be having a disagreement about an assignment when actually it's something which happened on the street, which is the underlying root cause. So it's always very important, but you can only do that if there's open communication and if there's active listening to what the parties have to say. Then some of the other things which you can do is trying to seek common ground. Find areas of agreement that can serve as a foundation for resolving the disagreement. Because there should be something which can, which is common to both parties, especially here where we work. If there's an objective to be achieved, if there's a client to be served, that's the most important. than like arguing about how you get on with it. But you've got an objective, you've got a client to serve, you've got an assignment to finish, and you've got a deadline to meet. So that should be, maybe we look at that. Oh, come on, let's forget about that. Let's try to serve our client. Also, use mediation. If you cannot resolve the issue, get in somebody else who both parties respect. Yeah. So bring in that neutral third party, maybe a senior person or an external mediator to facilitate these discussions to find a solution. It's very important, especially if you failed or you feel not comfortable trying to mediate. Get in somebody else. Then the other thing could be try to concentrate on the underlying interests and needs of each party rather than their specific positions or demands. So focusing on interests, not positions. Because sometimes you are going to say, well, this is a senior man or a senior lady, and when actually the point of focus is completely different, and you tend to sideline with that position or with a senior person. No, you should always come to the real point which has brought up the conflict. Whether somebody's senior or junior, that shouldn't be the case. It should be the real issue to be discussed. Then the other one is just encourage collaboration. Promote collaborative approaches to finding solutions rather than acceptable to all parties involved. Because if that environment is not as friendly, if it doesn't come, if it's not seen in you as a leader, trying to help out people all the time, then it's not going to work, even when you try to promote it on a single time. So always try to encourage people to be working together, to show that teamwork, that spirit. And the other one is remain professional, because there are some things which are minor, where you don't have to argue, where you don't have to say anything. Yeah. Just remain professional. As a professional, that's something minor. Let's just move on. Yeah. You've got to have that respect within you. You have to respect your position, your job, your profession as well. I say, well, that's nothing. Because some of the things could be very small things to argue about. Then there could be policies within the organization about resolving particular issues. Try to read those manuals, try to understand them, try to speak to the administrators who can advise on how to go about such, or read the manuals, what the manuals say about things or policies regarding issues which could bring disagreements within the team. Yeah, this is my take on this topic. So anybody is welcome. It's about disagreements and conflict resolution. The floor is open to anybody to contribute. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Hi, Robert. Thank you. Thank you for today's topic. This is actually a very interesting one for me personally. I believe that I'm a peacemaker. So sometimes, because I believe that I'm a peacemaker, I'm really one of those people who I try to avoid conflict at all costs and in any way possible. Yeah, but I've learned that honestly, as long as you're working with people, you're living with other people, there'll definitely always be something that you don't agree with someone else. And yeah, so for me, I think one of the things that I've learned is, first of all, to be bold. If something is actually not right, be bold and say that it's not right. Yeah. I feel like sometimes we are trying so much to maybe not have the conflict that, you end up maybe keeping something inside instead of, like you were talking about, open communication, being able to openly communicate, like, maybe this is what I feel or this is right. And I think it's a very important thing, whether at work or even in our personal lives. Yeah, so I think it's just important to be able to be bold. I remember when I was coming back to work, I had a nanny when I was coming back to work, and I could, something was off, but that thing of being like a peacemaker, I didn't want to confront, because I was coming back to work. I didn't want to also now start having to look for another nanny at that time. I was, yeah. So, and my husband kept on telling me that you need to speak to this lady, because you can clearly see that something is wrong. And then I think it was to a point where she maybe pushed me to the edge that I actually, had to, confront it and actually be bold and speak about it. And I ended up, changing people, but this was like a week before I actually came back, yeah, to
Wow.
work. So sometimes when something is wrong, you just have to be bold. So it's something that I always, I'm teaching myself, still learning, that you cannot avoid conflict. You can't avoid it. Be bold and speak out, but of course, also speak out respectfully. Yeah. And then the second thing is, I've learned, no, don't take things personally. Yeah. You were talking about speaking to someone, let's say, who is, let's say, like a supervisor or something like that. I've learned that don't take things personally. If Mola comes and let's say says, Linda, you've made a mistake here. You should have done this. You should have done that. I shouldn't take it personally, because sometimes when we take things personally, we end up, maybe we feel bad that someone has maybe spoken to us a certain way, but then the truth is, maybe you fell short somewhere or you dropped the ball somewhere. So when you take out the personal sentiments, you might actually realize, maybe I was wrong and I
Yeah.
need to improve. Because as long as you make it a personal thing, I feel like you'll not learn. Yeah. So I think when it comes to, in fact, you end up holding a grudge for nothing. Yeah. And I think sometimes that's what happens when it comes to disagreements and conflict resolution. Let's say I'll come and say, Robert, I didn't like this, or Robert will come and say, I didn't like this, and I'll take it personal. Yet it was not a personal matter. You just drop the ball,
Yeah.
see where you made a mistake and correct it, and then let's move on. It doesn't mean that we have to stop working together. No, it just means that there needs to be an improvement. So I think, don't take things personally, especially in the workplace. It's not personal. We are trying to do our best to serve our clients, to do our best in our work. So I think it really, really helps. There are times when I will maybe be looking for more, and I'll find him, speaking to the team, and it's like something has not gone wrong, not gone well, and maybe he's not happy about something. And even with us, maybe Sepida and I, something has not gone well. But I've learned that don't take it personal. It's just a ball is being dropped somewhere, and just someone needs to correct that. So for me, I would say those two things. Be bold. If you see that there is a conflict that needs to be resolved, just be bold to speak about it. And then don't take it personal. If something needs to be fixed, then let it be fixed. And I'll say also, the third thing is, also try and hear out people. There is that statement I've had people saying, that don't just listen to react. It's like, let's say if I'm having a conversation with like a work, let's say a colleague, and I'm listening, but I'm not really listening. I'm listening ready to just react to, or just respond to what you've said, but I've not really actually internalized what, maybe the issue that you're trying to bring up. Yeah. So I think listen to really understand, not just to react. And many times in these cases, try to take yourself out of the scenario. Yeah. So let's say if I'm having a conflict with somebody, don't take it like, if let's say it was someone else, not me, yeah, wouldn't I also respond the same way? But sometimes because you feel like, oh, it is me, it is me, it is me. Sometimes when you take yourself out of the issue, you're actually able to see things in a clearer mind, and you're able to understand, like I said in my previous point, it's not a personal thing, it's not about you, it's just something that needs to be sorted out. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Linda. That's really, really something which has affected me in the past is when I was younger. Things like being bold to speak to somebody. It would take me forever to come up. What I used to do, and this put me in a lot of trouble when I was younger, is after my O level, I used to play football in the evening, and somebody asked me, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Well, I'm waiting for my exams." And said, "So what do you do during the holidays? Because we see you here play football in the evening with the guys." And I said, yeah, I come here and play football, but I go home and look after the compound and that sort of thing. I said, "Oh, do you want to come and work with us?" And I said, yeah, I would love to. So they took me to an office and I started to work. But I didn't know anything. But they would put me on a computer, and computers, those days, computers were not something which everybody had. And they would show me how to go about certain things to do with it. It was Lotus 1, 2, 3 then. And this was a bit complicated for me. And what I would do, because I was so scared to speak up, I would just write a note and put it on the desk of this person. And the person would come back and say, "Oh, you left a note. What exactly did you mean?" And I would explain. And I did that about 3 times. About the 4th time, the person came to me and said, "If you want any help, you come and speak to me. Don't leave those don't leave those notes on my desk." But it's because I wasn't confident. And the way the person was speaking to me was very authoritative, and I was so scared. But being bold is really, really important, like you said, Linda. Thank you very much. Then don't take things personally and listen to understand. Thank you, Linda. Anybody else, please? Anyone? I'm sure you've all been in conflicts somehow. Not just me and Linda. Uh, conflict resolution.
Yeah, good morning.
Hello, Mariama.
Morning.
Morning.
Just to add on a little bit to the topic, I think you lot have said it all. To be honest, I think the key thing is just, listening to one another. And I always go by the saying, treat other people as you would like to be treated. So I'm sure you will want people listening to you and seeing where you're coming from. So you practice the same thing as well. And I think most of the time, sometimes you're on the same page, but at the heat of the moment, everyone is just wants to get their point across. And because you're not listening to each other, it might, make the situation worse than it is. So just listening to each other, and try to put yourself in other people's shoes as well. So I think, the key thing is just listening to the other person. You might not always be on the same page or agree on something, but at the end of the day, especially if it's in the work setting, you're all working towards one goal. So ultimately what you're looking for is what's going to get us there and make life easier for all of us. And it's just listening to everyone and seeing what the best thing is, basically, and just yeah, I mean, sometimes, you know, you might not be in a good mood whatsoever. So every little thing can become a big thing to you. And if you feel like you are having a bad day, maybe, you know, just take a moment or two, you know, take yourself out of the situation and, you know, take a little break and then come back, you know, and talk about it. Maybe, you know, if you're having an issue, maybe that moment might not be the right moment to address it, if that makes sense. Maybe sometimes you need to leave the situation and then come back and talk about it. Maybe you both might be willing to listen to each other if it's not working. Because sometimes you try to address something and it's just not working. No one is listening to each other. So maybe give it a bit of time and then come back again, you know, when you're a little bit calmer. And yeah, and you know, the tone you use, the way you speak to people, and you know, all of this plays, it's really important, to be honest. Because if you come to me, you speak to me in a certain way, I'm just gonna react based on how you're coming at me, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's important that we listen to each other and treat other people as you would like to be treated and respect one another. I mean, it's important, just respecting each other and just, you know, hearing each other. So yeah, that's what I have to add on.
Thank you very much, Mariama. Thank you. That's a very good one. I think to treat people as you want to be treated, with respect. Those are, I think, very important things to consider, to observe. The tone which we use when we are speaking to our colleagues or resolving an issue, the way you present your point matters, because that's going to kind of stimulate the other person, either in a good way or in a terrible way, and then you are going to make it even worse. But I think that's really, really important. Thank you very much for your contribution, Mariama. We still have a few minutes, 2, 3. Anyone else, please?
Hi, Robert. Hi,
Hello.
everyone. Morning. Yeah, Grand Rising, everyone.
Grand Rising too.
Yeah, so this topic about like having a disagreement and conflict resolution, like if we think like normally how if we see like these conflict and disagreements in a negative sense, like if you are having a conflict or if you are disagreeing with someone, other people might take it in a negative way and they go in that defensive mode. Oh, like you are blaming me, or like no, or like you are see me in a negative light. But like how it was previously discussed, like having or like you don't need to take things personally. Like if someone is disagreeing with you, or if someone is not agreeing with your thoughts or point of view on something, or like we are working on something, if they are not agreeing with you, instead of like taking it personally and getting offensive or defensive about the situation, I think you need to have that cool mindset. Like you have to calm, like how Mariama told us, like have a cool and calm mindset is really important in that situation. Instead of getting let the emotions get best of you and you will just burst out in anger, like oh, you are saying this to me. Instead of that, you should try to understand why that person is disagreeing with you. What is the main root cause of that thing? So I think that for that you need to have one thing is like really cool mindset, and other is communication. You need to like really good at communication, or like understand that what other person wants to convey to you and why he is disagreeing with your thoughts. And I think other thing that can mainly increase or like those kind of thing, like why there is a conflict in the first point. That might be like you might be from different backgrounds, you might have different cultures, or you are coming from different upbringing. Like every person has a different kind of upbringing, and some things might mean different to them, and like they might mean difference to you. So that kind of thing might cause like a conflict that might raise a situation where you are disagreeing with the other person, or you are not ready to accept the new point of view. But for that, we need to have like a broad mindset, like open mindedness. Like you are always open to new things or new ideas, instead of like having that rigid mindset, or like no like a fixed mindset, like if like there is only one way of doing the things. Instead of that, we need to like incorporate other people's point of view, like how they are thinking, try to incorporate their perspective. Like this problem might not be like solved from just only one perspective. There can be like different ways to solve one solution. Just so yeah, I think those things, if we keep those things in mind, like there is not only one solution to every problem, or like no, every person has a different mindset, different perspective. If we keep those things in mind, I think we can reduce like disagreements and conflict and like those anger bursts to like a very minimum level. But yeah, like it's an inevitable. If two human beings are working together, it's like almost impossible. Like they won't have any disagreement or conflicts if they are being true to themselves, or they won't like no like a good result or like a positive result or like success in that thing. So there would be disagreements, but we should not take them in like a negative light or take them personally. Instead of that, we need to understand why there is a disagreement or conflict in the first place. And if we work on that, I think we can resolve them very easily. And uh, yeah, that would be really easy for other team members as well. Yeah, that's my contribution on this. Thanks, Robert.
Thank you very much, Ritika, for rounding that up. Don't take it personal, find the root cause, be a good communicator, and embrace the other people's point of view because of different cultures, backgrounds, upbringing, and be open-minded as well. Very good points. Thank you very much, Ritika. I think that's all we have time for this morning. We'll stop here and I'll hand over to Sepide and Linda. Thank you all.